Hi guys, this is ShawNshawN. I do art on ShawNshawN.co and I also sell art on eBay, do specials there. Today I'm going to review The Favorite. So The Favorite's a film by Yorgos Lanthimos. He's a Greek director. And it stars three leading actresses. You have Olivia Colman as the Queen, Rachel Weisz as Lady Sarah, and Emma Stone as Abigail. So it's kind of this triangle of power struggle between the three characters. Queen Anne is very unsure of herself as the queen. She's had husbands before, 17 kids, they all died in child labor. So a really sad life. She's kind of detached from running the kingdom, and so the favorite, the current favorite, Lady Sarah, is kind of directing all the power decisions of the queen behind the scenes. So Abigail is the cousin of Lady Sarah, and she's fallen on really hard times. Her father, he got involved in gambling and gambled away his daughter, and so she actually gets stuck with this German merchant or something and has to have relations with him for quite a while. And then she sneaks off somehow and now is looking to be employed by the queen, and through her connections of her cousin. So her cousin recognizes her and says, "Oh, you've fallen on hard times. We can make you the maid." So she starts as the maid. Quickly she kind of wants to rise up higher up. She doesn't really want to stay as the maid in the palace. She's like, well, maybe I can somehow become a lady again. So she's trying to figure that out. Queen Anne has gout, which is caused by having really high cholesterol beef, lobster, these kind of things. Like Kim Jong-un in North Korea right now, he has the same problem because he's eating too high rich cholesterol because no one tells him no, right? So Queen Anne also has this kind of dictatorial power, and so no one's telling her no for whatever she eats, unless, someone can sway her and not lose favor. So that's what Lady Sarah's trying to do, is trying to reel back Queen Anne. It's like, don't eat that hot chocolate, that'll make you sick. And then she's like, no, I want it. She's kind of like a petulant child. So when she gets gout and her legs are really hurting her, Abigail sees her shot, and they're using like stakes on it and stuff, which is okay, but it doesn't really get rid of the pain. It just kind of temporarily calms it. So she runs out in the forest and she finds this special herb that she knows how to make, mixed herbs, and secret applies it to Queen Anne. She actually sneaks in. She has no direction to do it. She just sneaks into the room and starts putting on her wounds. Then Lady Sarah finds out and has her beaten. And then it actually turns out that it actually works, and Queen Anne's very grateful. Then Abigail, in the presence of the queen, is like, oh, how's your legs doing? I applied that stuff to you. She's like, oh, really? And so Queen Anne immediately kind of bumps her up as the maids for Lady Sarah. So Lady Sarah's kind of take her under her wing, shows her the ropes a little bit. As she is there, she kind of starts being a little more ambitious than just being the maid for Lady Sarah. And, the opposition member of the parliament, he tries to sway her, make her a spy. She doesn't want to do it. And then Lady Sarah's like, no, you can be the spy for him, but give me the information. So they can play both sides of the party. But unbeknownst to Lady Sarah, this is giving a lot more power to Abigail, right? But Abigail's just stuck in the middle, trying to survive, right? And then Abigail one night discovers the queen is having an affair with Lady Sarah. So this is very interesting because Lady Sarah's actually married, and her husband's like one of the major generals leading the war in France to beat the French back. So obviously her husband's away, so she's having this affair with the queen, but more to really have the power of the queen, I think. And so once Abigail finds this out, she's like, ooh, she gets an idea. So she seduces the queen, and then the queen really falls for Abigail, which is a much younger girl and is better at being a seductress because she had to sleep with this German merchant before. And so there's a power struggle there, and then eventually Abigail wins. It's kind of the crux of the story. I would say one of the best part about it is probably the sets. They have all this really original 17th century, 18th century costumes in the castle, and it's not exactly historically correct. They've kind of changed a little bit around, but it basically fits the plot. They use original lighting, so it's all natural lighting. So most of it's done during the sun, but they do have nighttime scenes, and they use that by massive candlelight, or at nighttime they have these huge torch bonfire kind of things that are going on around the sets. And that's the lighting they really use to show the scene. So it gives it a really natural feel to you're actually living in the 18th century. Another really interesting is in part of the film they use kind of this weird wide angle fisheye. Like this is a wide angle here, but it's not a fisheye, which will give it that a rounded feel and exaggerate the features are really a lot. The reason the director used it is he said he wanted to give feel of the painters of the period, which are doing kind of Flemish paintings in Holland, and they would use these fisheye kind of angles to be able to, the angles right off of the distant shots, and be able to paint in hyper realism, right, in this Flemish style. So yeah, that gives it kind of the historical feel. I didn't really like the fisheye. I thought it was just weird. But, you know, I think I may make that connection make sense historically, being a painter. Another thing they do is it's like 4x3, so it's the aspect you'd have on your phone versus, you know, the long camera. 16x9 would be your normal cinema shot, and they don't use that. They use this 4x3. So that has a really kind of strange effect. It's kind of like you're watching it on your iPhone versus watching in the cinema. Now, of course, cinema and iPhone, none of that existed in the 18th century, so it doesn't really matter in a way, but it gives you kind of the iPhone effect, kind of like you're living there in a sense, you know, like you're watching someone on their iPhone versus professionally filmed. It is professionally filmed, but because that 4x3 gives it more of a personal camera effect. One of the elements of the story actually came from Winston Churchill. So Churchill had written about the Marlborough side of the family, and there was a direct connection to this story of Queen Anne, Abigail, and Lady Sarah, and how this power struggle between the two ladies underneath and trying to influence Queen Anne, as well as, you know, all the parliamentarians trying to swing the queen this way or that way to fight the war, end the war, pay the tax on the landowners, not pay the tax on the landowners. How do you finish the war? Do you sue for peace early? Do you try to go all the way and really crush the French? So there's kind of this drama behind the scenes, which they have in the story, which is really nice. Overall, I think it's pretty good. The length of the film is an hour and 59 minutes. I felt that they might have been able to trim off maybe 10, 15 minutes here and there. Another thing I kind of didn't like is the last act. You know, Abigail's won, but then there's kind of like she's being demoted by the queen as the queen realizes her own power and doesn't really need Abigail's much. But I don't know if it really needed that scene. I really like the scene before that, the second to the last act, because it just shows that the right after the climax, and boom, you know, I would end the story really quick right after the climax. It just seems like a natural way to end the film, I think, versus that little extended part. It wasn't too long, but I just thought they could have nipped it in the bud. They had this really strange chapter titling all the way through, so they have all the acts are titled, so it's kind of fun. But yeah, some of those are just, they don't, it's not like a Tarantino chapter where it's like they're really isolated. It's just a linear story, and they added kind of chapter titles through that, which is, if there's no break between the chapters, then why use chapters, right? It's kind of fun, but it's just, I don't know if it really needs that to the story. Overall, I think I liked it. It had a lot of cruel elements. I identify a lot because my mother, growing up, she was very cruel. Really outlandish stuff, so I really related to this film. I mean, I probably should have taken my mom. It would have been a great film to take her, see her reactions to this film. It probably would have been a little much because she's not that accepting of lesbian gay lifestyle. I'm open to it because my uncle is, so I'm just like, whatever, you know, and I lived in San Francisco. But for my mom, she's like, oh no, I'm from the country, that can't be accepted, all this. Even though her own brother is gay, so, you know, not a very nice person. So that kind of the element of the story where it's like these cruel power struggles between the two ladies, and also the court and the parliamentarian, it's very interesting. Even the queen herself is very cruel sometimes, just to show her power. So I really identified that growing up with my mom as far as that cruelty in the sense. Hopefully I'm not too cruel. Sometimes I'm a little bit, but not to the extent my mom was. Anyway, I hope you guys liked it. If you want to subscribe below. And I'll see you in the next movie review. Thanks for watching, guys.